So today we are here to learn more about the CI/CD and infrastructure. With that, I welcome Andoni and Paco. And can we get a big round of applause for them?
First of all, has everyone scanned this QR code? It's for the repo and the slides, so that you will use it later. If not, we can show it again.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Well, this is us. Yeah, we've been working together for some years, but I moved this year to Prowler, so we no longer work together, but we have a few pictures. There, this is our socials. We are not going to talk about that. We are going to talk about pipeline security. So yeah, if you want to connect after the workshop, our networks are there. Okay, what we are going to see today. First, a brief introduction, because I don't know if everyone is familiar with all the pipeline slang. Why do we need security in our pipelines? Not only security of the pipeline, but in the pipeline for other steps. How we build our perfect pipeline. We are going to give an overview of all the steps, but we are going to focus on pipeline security, secret detection, infrastructure scan, containers scan, and runtime infra scan, because well, we only have 2 hours and there is a lot to see. And we are going to do it showing step by step with practical examples, so you can see how to integrate an open source tool for each step. We have like 2 alternatives for all the steps, and we also have a small challenge in one of them. And if you complete the challenge, we have some pins with unicorns at them. People love unicorns. So.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Who knows this diagram on the right? Raise your hands. Okay, perfect. Well, quick explanation for the ones that who don't know is a pipeline is just a set of automated tools that basically organizes the software development lifecycle, the SDLC. The objective of it is just basically help with the continuous integration, CD, that is continuous delivery or deployment, and the continuous security, that is just basically everything that involves in the pipeline. In case you are not familiar with these terms, CI involves developer merging code, testing, and well, all the process before starting the deployment. The CD ensures that all the changes can be easily deployed, making the releases that happen all the time, and also operating, monitoring, running the end-to-end test or everything that you have. And continuous security is just basically adding security to all the process. The important note is that continuous, this is just a joke, that continuous security was a thing that when we started creating this workshop, we think that we was something new that we invented, that continuous security, and then we realized that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was already some post about it. About the continuous security, there is an important part that is basically the key, that is find vulnerabilities when they are cheapest and easiest to fix. This means that all the time you are going to have issues in your pipeline and vulnerabilities. So the sooner that you identify it and fix it, it is going to be cheaper, because as long as you start adding more stuff to your code, more time is going to be super expensive to fix things, because you are going to need to change a lot of stuff. So that's basically more or less the basics of what we are going to see today.
Okay, now why pipeline security is important. As Paco said, this is like the thing that you need to tell your boss, because he's probably the one who decides the budget. And it's like the sooner we detect the problems, the easier and the cheaper has to fix. But also not only because of that, but also because it prevents supply chain compromises that, well, I think in the last month we had like 2 or 3 about big incidents related with that. It also helps your teams, because as security guys, we are not there like to say no to the rest of the teams, to the developers. We are there to enable them to go as fast as they can, but in a secure way. So adding these steps in the pipeline help them build secure products, and it's better to detect those issues in the pipeline and not wait for a pen test later where you have to make them reveal things like, we don't want to be that security guy that waits for the last moment to say, no, this can be released because it's vulnerable. We want to detect those things as early as possible. And also we need to be careful on how we build these tools. We add these tools into the pipelines because we also don't want to be that security guy that adds a step to the pipeline that takes like 20 minutes and slows every commit that they make there. There are some strategies that you can add in the pipelines, parallelizing the steps, running some jobs in different pipelines that doesn't stop them from deploying. So we need to be empathetic with our developers or with the rest of our teams, like to make these things something that they like and not something that they will reject by default. Also, this is very important, like to ensure compliance, because I'm sure like a lot of you work at companies that have to comply with some audits, I don't know, PCI, things like that. Having this security in the pipeline ensures that everything you are deploying is secure by default, let's say. And when the audit time comes, it's easier for you to review things because you can just say to the auditor, no, we don't allow this setting, so it's impossible that is there. And that helps a lot. Also, some people think that this doesn't apply to them because they have private repositories. You need to remember that you also have people on the inside that maybe is not as happy as they think. Maybe somebody can make a mistake. Adding these steps to the pipeline help to prevent also these internal issues. I remember I did a pen test one time where a company they built the deployments based on the name of the tag. So you put dev / whatever it was built in a deployment environment, and if you put production / whatever it was built in production, and they protected the tags, but they forgot that you could create a branch called production whatever, and then you had access to production. Like every developer had access to production without any review. So that's how important are those things, like to be careful on the pipeline. Also, this side is like, yeah, my repo is private until it's not. It's not like it happened like 1 time, 2, 3, 4. Like, yeah, it happens like several times. Like I had to stop at some point, but yeah, a lot of people went like open source unintentionally. So yeah, it's important like to protect our pipelines because some people believe that no, I can have secrets in my pipeline because it's private, nothing will happen. Yeah, until it's not.
So yeah, this is basically when we started this workshop, we wanted to call it the perfect pipeline. So more or less, this is the idea we had. You can see that there are 3 buckets: the pre-deploy, build and deploy, and post-deploy. And basically is where everything is happening. In the pre-deploy, we are going to scan the pipeline. Once the pipeline scan finishes and nothing is broken or vulnerable, we go to the code scan, secret scan, and infrastructure as code scan. If everything goes okay, then we go to a build and deploy. That is basically we run the build of the application in case of there are containers or whatever you have. We run the container scan, we deploy the infrastructure, and then we go to your environment, development, production, or whatever. Once the application is deployed, then we run the runtime scan, the end-to-end test, how that was called? The dash,
Dynamic analysis.
Exactly. I always forgot that those letters. So that's it. So you're going to see probably if you are already working with pipelines in your company, adding stuff to the pipeline is going to create a lot of pain to developers because even adding 1 second to the pipeline, you are going to have developers mad. I'm saying this because in my company, I work at the CI/CD platform team, and every time that we increase the time by 1 second, there are a lot of developers trying to kill me in the hallway. So there are a few tips that we can do here. As I have said, this is the perfect pipeline, but we can do stuff for improving or optimizing and reducing times. For example, you can see here that we have the pipeline scan, the infrastructure as code scan, and runtime infra scan. We can run them in a nightly mode or schedule time, like for example, every hour or every night or whatever. This is going to reduce the jobs that are going to be running a pipeline and only the ones that you want. Other thing that we can do is just run the jobs that we want depending on the change. For example, if you don't change the infrastructure, then you don't need to run the deploy infra or the infrastructure scan. You are going to just need to run build and test, container scan, and deploy an application, for example. The same if you don't change, for example, the pipeline flow or whatever. And finally, another thing that you can do is here you can see the order that we want to maintain. But for example, you can maybe switch the order in development environments, and you can have first the build and deploy, and then at the end you can have all the scans because maybe you are not going to need them, and developers are going to be happier. That is basically what gives value to the company. Here you can see just a thing that you are going to see later that is basically the same that we have seen, but in GitHub Actions. So it's just a visual representation of it. Where is the AI? Everyone is wanting to use AI, but today we're not going to have the AI. So sorry, you can leave it. You can leave now if you want. But well, there are some reasons because we are not using AI. It's not deterministic. You can run the AI like AI scan, and every time it's going to return you a different value. That this is a problem because you need to have, as the tools that we are going to use in the workshop, they are going to return you all the time the vulnerability you have, not depending on the context or whatever, a different thing. It's expensive. I don't know if you are already using Cloud Code or whatever, but it costs money because right now it's not like the best in performance. And well, it's for audit and explainability reasons, it's also a problem. In the workshop, you will see that there is a job that is for running a Gemini that is going to run a scan, and you are going to see it. We have seen and we have used in the workshop that you can use just the scan for changing and finding vulnerabilities or even fixing them. So sooner or later, we will be able to use AI in our pipelines in an efficient way. You can see here an example in case you don't run the job, but basically this is a run that we use with Gemini. We run a scan based on the comment AI review. You get a response, and here you can see here this is an output. I don't know if you can see it, but more or less you can see the format. It found that we had a GitHub token leaked and another thing that I cannot see it, but only these two findings. And a second scan discover more stuff. So it's like, you cannot trust this thing.
Okay, yeah. It was the title of the workshop was a bit like ambitious, perfect pipelines and very good. But later when we started to see what we need to add to the workshop, it was like, okay, this could run for 2 days. So we had to cut and decide what to see and what not. So we are not going to cover like pre-commit and other GitHub hooks that are very useful. For example, for the secret detection, it's something that we recommend, but it's not really part of the pipeline, depending on how do you consider a pipeline. But we recommend that you take a look if you don't know how that works and adding some secret detection in there. We skipped also the application code scan because, well, you also have the AppSec village and we had to put something. So yeah, we are going to focus more on the cloud/infra part. Also, we had to choose where to run the pipeline for this workshop, and we decided GitHub Actions, but we are not going to go deep on how GitHub has like the security measures it has. Just a few things that we need to say because it's where we developed the workshop, but we are not to focus on those. So you can translate all the things that you learn here to other pipeline platforms like GitLab or Jenkins or whatever. We try to be as agnostic as possible, and a lot of very good tools. We saw a lot of good projects for a lot of things, but yeah, we had to choose. We try to add 2 tools for each step, so you can choose one alternative on the other, but there is a lot of other very good tools that we didn't have time to include. Also related with the AI thing, we do not recommend like run a step like the one we added, that is just trying to do with an LLM directly scan the code and see if you find something. But we are seeing very good results, like using the outputs from the tools we are going to present, and then using an LLM to confirm if those are exploitable, if the context makes sense, and it's like a post-processing step. For that, the AI works very well. And okay, any question before we start with the hands-on?
You said you're skipping application scans. You're referring to more like a static code analysis type layer?
Yeah. We are skipping that. It's on the workshop. It has some in the repo. You have some information there, but we are not going to cover it like on live today. But we had some information there if you are interested in that step. And yeah, it will work more or less like the other ones. It just depends like that. We are going not to talk about that specific risk and everything.
Yeah, in the repository, you are going to see that we have the application scan that Andoni said. So the purpose of this repository is that on your own, in your house, and forever, you are going to be able to see alternatives in the for the pipeline, tools, comments, whatever. So we want to have like a source of truth of pipeline security in this repo. So you are going to be able to run whatever. But for this workshop, we wanted to we needed to focus more on the cloud set part. But yeah.
Okay, so this is how it's going to work. Like the ones that want to do it like hands-on, you can like fork the repo and we will explain a bit about each step. You will see how to enable the job and then you can see the results. And for the ones that don't have a laptop or don't want to do it like live, we will show you like the results after some minutes. We are going to leave people like some minutes without spoilers, and later we are going to show you like the results, ask questions for that step, and go to the next. And those are like the five steps we are going to cover. But yeah, as we said, the repo is going to be there. Everything is going to be working after it, and it's going to be open source. The only thing is not going to be working is the runtime infrascan, because we are we are at DevCon, so I'm going to close the account after this workshop. It's like I don't trust you. Sorry. Just joking. Okay, so let's start. Going back to our first step for a perfect security pipeline is, again, the pipeline security itself, because yeah, you can secure your application, your infrastructure, but if the pipeline itself is vulnerable, you are fucked. So why is important? We already talked about it. It's the baseline of their development life cycle. It has elevated access to the secrets, to the code, to the infra. I mean, it had access to everything. And if you are not careful, but you can have their hard-coded secret, excessive permissions that can make developers bypass stuff or people from the outside if you work with public repositories. Another common issue is the untrusted actions, not only using an action that has only 2 stars and some developer developed, but in the last month, there has been some issues with supply chain attacks. Somebody takes over a popular repository, release a new version. If you don't have like that version pin, you can have problems because it can be like malicious. Also, insecure triggers, it means that if your settings in the repository are not properly secure, people that open a pull request can run a pipeline in your infrastructure. You don't want like code in the pipeline that you didn't review running, because yeah, it can access your internal network or whatever. And yeah, it's a good way to cause a P0. And okay, apart, this is an example. I don't know, anyone was playing the CTF for the Cloud Village last year? Here? No? No one? Oh, perfect. So this is an example that I like. This is a challenge from last year CTF. It started with like a zip that had a repository with some Terraform code, and you have this Terraform code that, if you're not familiar with Terraform, you will see that it creates an AWS role with some OIDC policy, so you can assume the role from the GitHub Actions pipeline. Does anyone see anything suspicious? I can make it bigger. No? No problem. Let's read it like line by line. This condition allows like a repository from anyone named Warden's Roost and using that branch to assume a role, like from anyone. So you can just fork the repository and that's it. You have access to production. Okay. And oh, this is not supposed to be here. Okay, wait. Okay, wait a sec. Yeah, we will come back to that in a sec. This is the challenge we added to. This is like an extra ball. Like you can do it now or do it just after the workshop. If it's like a new versions of that challenge, a bit more complicated, or admin has been studying how the OIDC token works. If somebody like gets the flag, come to me later and I will give you like a unicorn spin, like with the logo, the unicorn logo. We have pins for it, so you can try to play it later. You will need to take that account ID because you will need it like to do the assume. And well, that's it. And now, yeah, if you want to try, you can go to that folder on the repository, choose one of the 2 tools we prepared, and go to the workflow YAML and follow the instructions. We are going to leave you, I don't know, like 5 minutes or so you can try, and later we will show the results for the ones that don't have a laptop.
If you have any question or need any help, reach to us and we will. 5 minutes, 10 minutes more or less, and we will go to the results and the next step.
Can you speak a little louder? It'll be easier for us at the back.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, in 1 minute, we are going to show the results. I don't know if you have managed to run the pipeline scan.
The IP address is that will replace the temporal analysis, right? I mean, different phases of that attack. And you can see like initial activity was multiple access, like multiple calls to effects. And then primary operational period was so as you can see, like even if you figured out that the user agent that actually was utilized for that particular operation caller, right? And then you can see different things that attacker was actually what was the age of this?
¿Te doy ese account ID?
Yep. Let me go.
Okay.
That is the way that we actually perform behavior. So now, post this, what we as a we reach out to the security team, said that what is happening, why is this happening to the mix? We actually think the security team is wanted primary.
Hemos resolvido.
Try to understand whether or not it's completely obviously all balance will actually if you can see whatever loss sources that it actually varies, it's actually going to the data repository now and try to understand whether or not this tool actually is performing legitimate actions. And in most of the cases, actually, right? I mean, there are different teams across engineering teams, and most of them keep on exploring a lot of tools, right? So most of them actually have like detection teams have a little bit of a hard time with people are not actually identified on this tool as being deployed within our stuff, right? In these cases, this is actually pretty good. So as you can see, it's an expected to be able. It was able to understand that as the legitimate activity, but it also figured out that there are a few suspicious acts, right? For this example, is that's very unique thing. Most of the cases where we try to actually operate as and operate which might take a lot of time for us to actually start it.
Okay, so more or less, we're going to show the results and the changes that are needed for fixing the pipeline scan step. So we have here the cheat sheet about the results. Let me fix the head floater. Okay. So we have here, this is a fork of mine. You also can see it, but I hope you don't cheat. And we have, for enabling the scanner, we have the close and also the Thizmor one. But well, you can see here that for enabling is just basically following the instructions of the pipeline scan YAML. That these are pretty simple. It's just copying the content to the pipeline scan workflow. In this case, the problem is that, I don't know if you have seen it, but the problem is basically that this action is not pinned. It's using master, and this is a problem because everyone can change push to master, and then you are going to receive code that maybe is vulnerable or maybe has a breaking change and breaks everything. So the fix for that is just basically pinning to the commit SHA of the version that you want. So we can see here, like presentation, yeah. We can see here the issues also. The Thizmor one has the same problem, but with another branch name, and the solution that you need to add for fixing the scan. More or less, are we okay? Let's continue.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. This will be open until this night. So if you solve it like later, you can write me on LinkedIn or whatever, and I can like find you tomorrow to give you the pin. So you have time later to do this. This is another extra ball we added to the repo. Is just to showcase a really good article about the creator of Wismore and how some things that look so innocent, like just action checkout, can end up like leaking your credentials. So if you want to take a look at this, it's just like a prepared example, so you can run it yourself. And also, this is another extra ball. Like, well, you know, I work at Prowler. I think this is pretty cool, mainly because I work on it too. And it's an scanner for GitHub settings. So yeah, as we mentioned, like the pipeline is one of the baselines, but also the pipelines run in some place. And if your repositories are not secure, allow push directly to master, the main branch is not protected, and you don't have other settings, it can be a problem. So with this, you can scan your repositories and your organization for finding this kind of misconfiguration. So this is also prepared as an extra ball, so you can play later with it, because we excluded kinda of the workshop because it's not really the pipeline, it's more like where the pipeline resides. So yeah. So okay, let's work with secrets and cans. Did you mention? Okay. I guess we don't need to explain why secrets are important, like to protect. It can lead to data breaches, access to our system, supply chain attacks. So yeah, but at the end, some people put it in the repos. So this is a report from GitGuardian about they scanned like GitHub for secrets. And this is the top 10 they found in private repositories, as you see, like connection to databases, connection to AWS and other clouds, GitHub access tokens. And yeah, as we saw in the before, maybe now it's private, but at some point it can end up being public, apart from being accessible for everyone at the company. And of course, in public repositories, you also have like tons of credentials. I don't know why MongoDB credentials are very popular in 2024, but yeah, you also can see like Google APKs, Telegram bot tokens, and the last reports. I forgot to add a slide about the last reports, but of course, last reports of leaked secrets are mainly OpenAI APKs, Anthropic APKs. Everyone is doing AI now, and they are not being like very careful with their keys as if they were cheap. And also in this step, we covered like some other kind of sensitive data that is not always considered a secret, or is not really a secret, but you should be careful to. For example, webhooks. Some people forgot that some webhooks can expose internal domains or can trigger some internal actions. For example, Slack webhooks. With an Slack webhook is really easy to impersonate someone. This was me playing on my company Slack, and the only difference you will see is that a small app but that is in there. And you know, I'm sure you know some users at your company that won't see even that, and they fell for the like some CEO scam or things like that. Also, account IDs. AWS says that is not a secret. I disagree. We added like a post from Plarion about that, because you can, I mean, you cannot do anything directly with an account ID, but you can like enumerate a lot of resources and make your life easier as an attacker. I recommend you like to check AWS website is like Sodan, but for public AWS resources. It's pretty cool, and it can be very useful for some challenge we might add it to this repo. Also, please don't upload like internal documents or PII to repositories. It is not the place where they belong. Okay, so yeah, this one didn't have too many explanations. So if you wanna go and try, we can give you another 5 minutes and you can try one of those two. Oh, the second is has a typo. Yeah, let me fix that. Yeah, skip it. Yeah. Fixing things online. But yeah, we are going to give you some time to try.
Okay, we are going to see the results of the secret scan. Don't worry, you haven't managed to see the results and everything. At the end of the workshop, you are going to have time because we are pretty good on time, so don't worry about that. Pretty much the same as the previous one. You need to copy the scan code to the workflow of the secret scan, and then once you push your change, you are going to see that it's the job fails because there is a AWS canary token. It's a canary, don't try to use it. Hard-coded in the repo. The solution is just to remove it or whatever that to prevent to have it there. But that's it. No more.
Just as a note, once we put that canary token public, I think it was like 5 minutes later, we started to get the alerts like this is being used.
Yes, a lot of alerts. I mean, I haven't stopped. I have maybe 50 alerts about the token trying to be used. Okay. Any questions about this scan? Okay. So the scan for the infrastructure as code, pretty simple. Basically, the main point of this is to try to prevent vulnerabilities or issues to go to production before the infra is created. So another important thing of this is that having a scan for this automated in a pipeline totally connects with the point of having treating the infrastructure as code at any kind of any piece of software. So it means that your infra is going to have versioning, is going to be reviewed, is going to be tested. So if we automate the infra with the same development practices, I mean, we are going to be on track. This is an scalable security approach for the cloud because the infra, as you know, it evolves constantly. Different requirements, new teams. I mean, so having an automatic infrastructure scan here is going to prevent and also reduce the manual reviewing or testing or whatever that the security team needs to do. So, well, later you'll see that there is another job that is for the runtime infra scan. So the main difference is that the infra as code scan is before it gets created, and the runtime infra is once it gets created. Common issues with the infrastructure as code, access control. As we have seen with the warden rules example, you can have an IAM policy with a lot of permissions because, well, if you are used to do CTF, you have seen this is a pretty common example. Encryption, maybe buckets are not encrypted at rest or whatever. Network security, pretty common that maybe you have a security group exposed to the internet. Also, when I started in my company, I opened all the development environments to the internet by mistake. So, well, I learned this in the hard way. And well, compliance and governance. Maybe if you are missing logging or alerting or whatever, that's the thing that this scan covers. Some recommendations for the infrastructure as code, as we have said, encrypted remote backends, state locking to prevent. This is maybe not related to security, but this is just a way to prevent problems with the infrastructure. Sensitive data, important, for example, in Terraform, you can have an output that contains a secret, and if you don't add sensitive, it's going to be printed in your parent or whatever. Pin provider versions, as we have seen with the GitHub Actions or whatever, and also all the software, everything needs to be pinned to avoid issues. And third-party modules, well, try to audit first. We recommend to run the infra code scans against Terraform plan because, I mean, for more accurate results. Extra ball, we have another thing inside the workshop that is the Terraform plan remote code execution. That basically you know that Terraform has the plan and apply. So you may think that running the plan is safe, but it's not, because there are some resources in Terraform that basically are going to run the code inside. Like, for example, this data once you run the plan, is going to run this Python script and whatever. So imagine that you maybe are using a module from a third party or GitHub or whatever. If it has this data inside, it's going to do, well, whatever you can imagine. So
Yeah, we added also in the pipeline README, in the pipeline scan README, we added also a link to a repo called Living Off the Pipeline that has like a list of all the tools that can do similar stuff to the Terraform plan, like so, a lot of tools that can do remote code execution, but are not like the ones that you expect, because everyone expects this from, I don't know, Python and running sub process, but there are a lot of tools, even security ones like Chekhov, that allow remote code execution if you are not careful. So we added there a repo with a huge list that explain them.
So yeah, time for the hands-on. Pretty much the same as the other ones. Okay, so the results for this job, don't worry if you don't have it, you don't have it, so you can, I mean, experiment for whatever you want later. So basically, for the ones that have run Trivi, you have seen in GitHub that there is the vulnerability that has shown is the egress. The fix is just adding that comment, because we don't know why Trivi is telling that there is a vulnerability on the egress, that the outbounds, because this is a server and we really want to go outside to everyone. For the Chekhov, it detects the vulnerability that we really want. That is basically that there is a, I don't know if I can make this bigger. If not, I can show you the code. But basically, the vulnerability of that we really want to the scan to detect is this one. Is here, yeah. You can see here that the ingress of the security group for the ACS task is just open to the internet. So this is what the scan needs to detect. Trivi, for some reason, is not detecting it. So feel free to know why that is happening. And that's it. Next one, container scan. Basically, the container scanning is just a scan that we run once the container is built in the pipeline with Docker or Podman or whatever. Basically, with the container scan, we detect also secrets inside. We detect that maybe if there are libraries that are like outdated or contains vulnerabilities or unsecure stuff. So there are some vulnerabilities that maybe people can get inside the container because you have vulnerable dependencies, you have secrets, the excessive privileges. I don't know if you are used to work with containers, but like the default Docker file, you'll see that it's just basically doing stuff, but no one is creating a user with less permissions or whatever. Everyone is using root. So if someone manages to get inside your container, it's going to be able to do whatever. So if your application reads secrets or whatever, the attacker is going to have everything. And that's basically the thing. The same container scan. If someone needs help or whatever, we can do it. We're going to give maybe less time, and we just for making this faster and see the results. So don't worry if you are stuck or whatever.
That way we can reach like the last step that is missing, and later you have time like to complete everything you want to and ask all the questions.
Okay, so let's move to the results of this job. Basically, you have Trivia and Gripe. They are finding a lot of vulnerabilities, and basically it's because they are using the Docker file is using a node image that is ancient. I don't know how many years, but a lot. The change is pretty simple. Just bump it for passing the job, and then the other vulnerabilities related to the dependencies of npm is using also a super old Lodash version. So just bumping will do the trick. This was just for you to know the things that these scans are finding. All these results are already in the slides, and the slides are in the repo. So if later you want to run them again or whatever, you'll have the solution there.
Okay, and the last step of our perfect pipeline is the runtime infra scan. I don't see so many people doing this on the pipeline. A lot of people just like have scheduled jobs or they do one-time assessments from time to time, but it's something that you could also do like add a step in your pipeline that after something is deployed, just check if everything is still like secure and like compliant with your policies. Why it's important to have this step? Because the AIC scan cannot detect everything. There are some things that because it's dynamic or because someone created manually or because there is a problem with your code and it's not doing what you expect, cannot be detected in the infrastructure scan. So you need like to scan also like the real infrastructure, because you will find like the same issues that you find with the infrastructure scan, but you will also have that drift that can be done by manual changes or things that are not working as expected with the providers. And yeah, usually those are like overseen if you don't have like something like a CSPM or cloud security posture management and tools like that. This is our last step. So let me, in case someone has to leave, let me quickly escape. Oh, well, no, well, we can do it. No, it's fine. This is the last step. If you want to, if you don't have like an account ready to do the scan, you can use this role. And if you forget the repo, it should let you assume this role. Like you can try, it will run against a test account that I have in there. So if you want to try with that AAM role, you should be able like to scan a real account and see some results. In this case, we are not going to fix them because there were a lot, because it's a recently created account and by default there are a lot of things that are not secure, but at least you will be able to see real results. I hope none of them are critical because yeah, it's my account, please don't hack it. But yeah, feel free to try.
I mean, yes, the plan is to add more stuff to the repo and I mean, continue it with more tools, maybe new ways of running pipeline security.
So
So
you're shutting down the repo after the show?
not the repo, the AWS account. Because this job is running against an AWS account that we have created just for this workshop.
Yeah.
But the rest of the steps, I mean, you can run them whenever you want because they are only checking secrets inside the repo or whatever. So the repo is going to be forever. Yeah. So if next week you want to run whatever, yes, you can. Or imagine that you discover a new tool and you like it and you want to add it to the repo, it's open source. So feel free to do the thing you want.
Okay, we still have some time, but we are going to finish the slides so you can keep working on the workshop, but we like finish all the things that we have here. This is what you should see. If you use Prowler, you will see an HTML report. And if you use Steampipe, you will see another like report in there. It will have a lot of findings because, you know, the faults in AWS are a bit like open, but yeah, you won't be able to fix this because the role is just read only for the workshop. So that's it. Feel free to ask any questions. I think we still have like 20 minutes or so, but I just wanted to thank you all for coming. You have there or LinkedIn or socials and everything, and any feedback about the repo, it's open source. We added like a contributing guidelines because feel free if you know any other tools for all the steps and everything. We welcome PRs. I mean, we are just two, but we will try to answer as soon as possible. And well, thank you.